Dark Knight Rises is a superhero film directed by Christopher Nolan and stars Christian Bale, Tom Hardy, Anne Hathaway, and Joseph Gordon-Levitt. And this film is the final film in the Dark Knight trilogy. A couple of weeks ago, when I did my Batman Begins review, I said The Dark Knight Rises was my second favorite film in the Dark Knight trilogy. So when I went to rewatch this film so I can review it, I didn't like it. Which is weird because the first time I saw this film, I really loved it. But somehow every time I watch this film, I like it less and less. And it's gotten to the point now where I think this film is the weakest of the Dark Knight trilogy. Like, there are some good elements in the film, but for the most part, it was pretty weak and lackluster. I'm just gonna come out and say what the film's biggest problem is. The film is boring. And a lot of that has to do with the runtime, which is nearly 3 hours. And I know this film is 15 minutes longer than The Dark Knight, but even then, The Dark Knight was more exciting than this film. This film just felt slower, dull, tired, and honestly, this was just exhausting to watch. But I do think this film has one thing that makes it better than Batman Begins and The Dark Knight. I personally think that the music in The Dark Knight Rises is the best out of the entire trilogy. But yeah, the elements I liked about this film are the action scenes and the performances. And unfortunately, that's it, because the rest of the film I just found to be average. Like, the film is in no way a bad movie, but it just felt weaker than The Dark Knight. The characters in this film are the weakest of the entire trilogy. For example, Joseph Gordon-Levitt's character was a bit and I didn't like that tacked on thing at the end where his actual name was Robin. That pissed me off. But yeah, a lot of these characters just weren't that interesting. Something that really bothered me and really stuck out to me were the plot holes. One of the biggest holes is when Bruce Wayne escapes the pit in the middle of nowhere, and then a few hours later, he's back in Gotham. How did he get back again? Because he entered the pit with nothing, not even a passport. And this is one of the biggest problems that has always irked me. How did he get back to Gotham? And there's never an explanation given on how he gets back. But yeah, that is just one hole in the story. There are a huge number of them throughout this movie. And I know I'm being negative on this film, but this film really irked me, and I really wanted to like this movie, but there were things about it that really bothered me. The opening of the film had me hyped on what was going to come, but the more the film went on, the more disinterested I became in the film. And that leads me into one of the biggest things I hated about this movie, and that was the ending. I hated this ending. There literally could have been a better way to pull off this ending, but I was so mad by this. I'm not going to go into full detail with this ending, but man, I really did not like this ending at all. The only thing I can say about the ending is, really? That's the ending they go with on this trilogy? Are you kidding me? Overall, this is a hard one to recommend because I like Batman. Batman is my favorite superhero of all time. And this film just really disappointed me. And I know some people like this movie, and if you like it, that's fine. But for me, every time I come back to this film, I like it less and less. And this just wasn't the grand finale to this trilogy that I was looking for. And like I said, this film is way too long, nearly 3 hours long. It's boring, uninteresting, dull, and honestly, the more times I have to rewatch this movie in the future, the more I'm not looking forward to rewatching it. But overall, I would just say that this film is a disappointment. And I'm gonna give The Dark Knight Rises a 6 out of 10. Thank you so much for watching. If you like what you see, be sure to like my Facebook page, follow me on Twitter, and subscribe to my channel below. As always, I'm NETX5. Thank you so much for watching.